Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome into 6 p.m. in Lincoln with former Nebraska linebacker Chris Kolarevic.
Intercepted, ball game over. Picked off by Chris Kolarevic.
This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're live. We got Jake in the studio, the legendary producer, Jake Bachhoven. Is that how you say your name, Jake?
That's right. Yeah,
Jake Bachhoven. All right,
legendary is how you pronounce. Yeah,
we got the most legendary producer in the entire country sitting in the studio today. He's got the music. He's got the intro on point. We're even starting a minute early. We're getting to Lincoln a minute early on this fine Sunday. This episode today is sponsored by Diet Coke. I just went and grabbed one at the gas station on the way before I got here. It's just me in studio today with Jake, and I think it's only right that we talk a lot of football today because there's a lot of football going on. Obviously, we need to talk about the game going on right now. We've got it. I can see it kind of in the reflection in the mirror. I know it's behind me. I don't know if anybody watching can see it, but I can't see it. I'm going to kind of look in the reflection. Jake, if something happens, will you give me an update? I'm going to keep peeking back.
Yeah, Bills just hit a field goal.
I'm rooting hard for the Bills. Shout out to Spencer Brown, former UNI teammate, right tackle at UNI, right tackle at Buffalo. Been killing it this year. Really rooting hard for these Bills for that reason and multiple other reasons. So I'm hoping the Bills can pull it off. We got the previous game to talk about today, and we got the national championship to talk about, college football national championship. So we got a lot of football to talk about. I'd like to start with the national championship because that's been on my mind. Ohio State was one of the more interesting stories over the last month because they went and ran through the playoff. And after losing to Michigan, you wouldn't have expected that. I don't think anybody expected Ohio State to go run through the playoff like they did after losing to Michigan. You had stories coming out about Ryan Day potentially getting fired, and then all of a sudden they just go on this run. So I thought to me, that was a true test of a good coach, where as a coach, you're going to take losses. I mean, even Nick Saban took losses. He lost to Auburn. He lost to some teams here and there. But how you bounce back from those losses, you'll see a lot of teams spiral after they lose. And I think the true mark of a good team and a good coach is how do you bounce back from a loss? And that's the biggest loss you can take in college football. There's no regular season loss you can take bigger than Ohio State, Michigan, especially when you're an undefeated Ohio State team, or not undefeated. They had one loss, but top 3 ranked Ohio State team playing an unranked Michigan team, losing to them in the last game of the season. That's one of the bigger losses you can take. And I think with many teams that would have spiraled out of control and affected them in the playoff, but it looked to me like it affected them positively. They kind of had a fire under them. They looked really ready to play. So they were the most deserving team of the championship. I find it interesting how Notre Dame always tends to make when they make the national championship, you can book it. It's going to be a bad game. You can just book if Notre Dame's in the playoff or in the championship game, it's going to be a bad game. I think off the top of my head, I'm remembering the Alabama one when they had Manti Te'o. I know I'm missing one. I can't remember specifically what it was. Do you remember?
Well, I think that's the only championship game they've been in maybe since '88. But I know that they had like a 10-game BCS, like Sugar Bowl Fiesta Bowl, 10-game losing streak for January 1st.
Is that what it was?
And New Year's Day. So yeah, regardless of whether it was championship or just kind of big spotlight game to end the season, they were not.
Look, I got a lot of respect for Notre Dame, and here's why. They're really holding strong on this no conference thing. I got a lot of respect for that. I mean, there's not a lot of teams in the country that would not fold. I mean, most teams in the country have folded. I mean, BYU folded, but Notre Dame is staying strong. They don't have a conference still. And you know what? When they win games, it all goes to them. I saw a story. I think that since Ohio State won the national championship, they have to split it up with the entire Big Ten. Notre Dame, they get all the money. They're playing it smart, and you get to play an easier schedule. I don't know how it's being allowed. I don't know what the real behind the scenes is going on there, but I don't know how it's being allowed. But I respect them because there's somebody in the front office of Notre Dame. There's somebody there that's really put their foot in the sand, and we're not joining a conference and say, we're Notre Dame. What are you going to do without us?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for the Notre Dame football program and whoever is whoever put that line in the sand, whoever drew that line, hats off to you, because it doesn't really make sense to me how they're being allowed to do that. But yeah, I don't love how they perform in those big games. It felt to me like Ohio State was dominant physically, number one. It felt to me like Ohio State was better prepared as far as scheme. And then third, Ohio State was definitely the more intentional and fired up team. You could just see it, and I think you could see it from the second they lost to Michigan, got their flag planted, Michigan's flag planted in their O in the horseshoe. You could see it that Ohio State just had a different type of look in their eye. Like Ryan Day walking on the field, you could just see he had a different type of look in his eye. I think it was all facets. They were more prepared to play. I think looking back on the season, Notre Dame definitely had that look after they lost to Northern Illinois. But I think by the time they got to the playoff and by the time they got to the championship game, that fire that they had maybe worn off a bit. Because if you look at their season, you're Notre Dame, you lose to Northern Illinois in week 2. And then you go run the table and make the championship. It's like, for all intents and purposes, you overperformed in the season. You did better than anybody ever thought you would, especially after that week 2 game. So maybe they just went into the game having already won. I mean, they already won the season. They already had a winning season going into that game. Ohio State, if they didn't go win the national championship, everybody's going to be talking about how they lost to Michigan. Now it's like, oh, they lost to Michigan, not the end of the world. But they won the national championship. Hats off to them. I think Ohio State, I don't know how they do it, but they have the best receivers in the country every single year. Nobody can guard them. I'm excited to see what's his name?
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
Freshman.
I mean, that's not a name that I'm or anybody's going to forget anytime soon. Again, look, he's going to go top 1 probably in the draft. I haven't seen anybody as good as him since Calvin Johnson. And I'm excited to watch him in the pros. But yeah, Notre Dame did not stand a chance in that game. Maybe they stand a chance if Ohio State if Ohio State beats Michigan, I think Notre Dame might stand a chance in that game. But just because they had such a kind of just a fire under them and like an underlying animosity, they were more prepared to play that game. And that's what those rivalry games are for. You don't see it too often though, where a unranked team beats a top 3 team in a rivalry game. Though it's pretty rare. I remember Auburn doing it against Alabama in the last decade or so, but you don't see it too often. If I'm Michigan, do I look back and say I shouldn't have planted the flag? Yeah, probably. I mean, it probably gave Ohio State some extra motivation, and maybe I'll say it. Maybe Ohio State doesn't win the national championship if Michigan doesn't plant that flag. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I don't know the inner workings of Ohio State, but you could tell. I mean, they just had a different level of fire to them. They just had a different level. So overall, my opinions on the college football playoff is it's awesome. I think it worked about as well as it possibly could have year 1. We got some great games out of it. Obviously, the final game wasn't the best. But, I mean, the 12-team playoff, I'm sure it was the most watched playoff in history. I mean, I don't have the numbers to back that up, but just based on my Twitter, that's what I'm basing that off, I guess, and just the amount of people talking about it. It was awesome. It was awesome because Ohio State was, what were they, the 8 seed? So they wouldn't have gotten in. These guys, Ohio State never would have gotten in to a playoff, a 4-team playoff or the BCS. They would have been in the Peach Bowl or whatever, probably the Rose Bowl, actually. They would never have gotten in the playoff, and they never would have won the national championship. And you have to look at it and be honest, the best team won the national championship. It's pretty obvious. Like, they ran through every team that they played in the playoff. Clearly the best team won, but that wouldn't have happened without the 12-team playoff. So I love it. I think it's only going to improve as the committee kind of learns what works, what doesn't. They'll figure out how to seed people better. They'll figure out how to get the right teams in there. And I think it's only going to improve as teams get used to playing more games, because what they have to play, Ohio State had to play 16 games. 16 games. That's probably more than any college football team's ever played, I would venture to guess. So 16 games, teams are having to figure out how to play those extra games. Teams are having to figure out how to get their players and their staff through those extra games. And it's very challenging to do that. But I think as time goes on, those elite programs will figure that out and get that dialed in. So look, the playoffs only going to get better. I think it's only going to get more interesting as time goes on. I love that we had Boise in it. I love that we had SMU in it. I think it adds a little extra underdog flair. And one of these years, one of those teams is going to win a game, and it'll be worth having those teams in. I mean, it's not going to be every year. Those teams are going to get blown out a lot like they did this year. But I think one of these years you're going to have a Cinderella run where Boise State makes the semifinal, and everybody's going to be going crazy because Boise's in the semifinal of the college football playoff, and it's just going to be a whole you get unlimited storylines out of these games. Yeah, I think Notre Dame's probably going to be in it every year because they don't play anybody and they're independent. So you're gonna constantly see Notre Dame in it. Obviously, you're gonna get a few SEC. Look at me fumbling. I can't even say SEC right now. You're gonna get a few SEC schools. You're gonna get a bunch of Big Ten schools, and I love it. I think they killed it. I could see it going to 24. You got the FCS playoff. I played in the FCS playoff. Look, the FCS playoff, you could do that in the FBS. You could do a 2014 playoff. And I think that eventually, because look, like these systems, all they do is follow the money these days. They're not doing it. Oh, you're in. Is there something going on in the game? What's going on?
Not necessarily. That was a big
I'm
hit.
like, your eyes lit up. I was like, oh, did something happen? I think it eventually goes to 24. And that system I played in the FCS, it actually worked really well. I guess we only played 11 games in the regular season. So maybe you cut down a game. Maybe you don't let the Big Ten schools play an FCS school and you just only play 11 games. I don't know. But the 24 team would be awesome. You get Colorado in there. You get the number 18 team that's a national story, and it would just be awesome to have them in there. So I think eventually it goes to 24. And people are going to talk about it's too much on the players, it's too much on the kids. People figure it out. And look, everything's about the money these days. The portal's about the money, and these big schools, they need the money to pay these portal kids. And how are you going to do that? You play more games. So eventually I think it goes to 24, and there's going to be some downsides to that, but these downsides, they kind of sort themselves out when there's enough money involved is what I'm noticing, because a lot of people were talking about all the negatives to the 12-team playoff, everything that could go wrong with it, this and that. But if you look at it, it worked great. These schools got extra games, extra exposure for recruits. It feels like a win-win for everybody to me. I love the Arizona State story. Their running back's going to get drafted even higher now. I could see him going a second round, maybe even a late first, just because he had that incredible game in the playoff. That was pretty awesome. So that's my take on college football. I'm excited to see how it develops. I mean, this college football thing, obviously it's a little bit out of control right now with the portal and how much guys are getting paid and the playoff and how everything's changing. But I think these things tend to sort themselves out, and you put these new rules in, and the first couple of years of it is going to be a major adjustment, and there's going to be some issues that come up along with it. But these issues, I think they get sorted out as time goes on. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think things will sort themselves out, and I'm excited for the future of college football. I think it's going to be great. Moving on here, I just watched the Eagles play the Commanders. Let me take a sip of my sponsored by Diet Coke. We can't be on the radio being thirsty.
No,
it's not. What do you got there? You got Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke?
Yeah, it's Pibb Extra.
Dr.
You got
Pepper,
the
Pibb,
Evil Twin or whatever it is.
Evil Twin. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Is it much different?
It's a little bit different. I'd consider myself I drink a lot of Dr. Pepper, so it's nice to get a little bit of a change.
Nice to get a little bit of, just a minor change.
Yeah,
You don't want a
little
major
tweak.
change, just a
Yeah.
little tweak. Yeah. I saw you last week with the Code Red Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's one or the other. That's
Those are
usually what I
great.
do. I guess one or the other, or Mr. Pibb.
Yeah.
Payback.
So what were your thoughts? Did you watch that Commanders?
No, I didn't watch the game, but I had, I was kind of following along. It's just, Saquon got 2 touchdown runs right away. A really impressive run to start the game.
His first rush.
Yeah. So
he might be the best running back of this generation.
He might have a pretty good argument for MVP. I think they're going to give it to a quarterback, but
yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he's got a really good argument for MVP. Obviously, it's not a postseason award. I think if you included postseason, he'd have an even better shot.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they'll give it to him off the regular season. But if I just listed the top running backs of this generation, we're talking Saquon, Derrick Henry. Who am I missing here?
Over the last couple of years, it's crazy because running backs' shelf lives are usually so short,
Right.
and how
They're
great
short.
they are. So they've cut just a couple of years.
You could Ezekiel Elliott, but he's not a Saquon. McCaffrey.
McCaffrey's definitely
McCaffrey's up there for sure. McCaffrey's up there. There's just not. I don't think there's anybody that's at the level of Saquon though. There's nobody doing it like him. You can't bring him down in the open field with one guy. It's just not possible. That Eagles O-line, shout out to Cam Jurgens, is putting in work. And yeah, I'm a big fan of watching Saquon run. I've never seen anything like it. I think I saw a video of his kid running too. I saw a video of his kid playing Pop Warner or something, and he looks incredible too. So we might have another one coming. We'll see.
Can he jump over people coming at him backwards?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a play like that again.
That was crazy.
I think it was just so
lined
in
up.
the moment. I don't think you could plan that at all.
I don't think.
And I think if you went into a game saying I'm going to go backwards and jump over somebody, I don't think if you went into a game saying that every game for the rest of your career, I don't think you could plan on doing that.
That's dangerous. What if you get speared basically from the backside? Right. Yeah.
I wonder if he ever thought about doing that before he did that. Like, I wonder if it ever crossed his mind. Like when he was, athletes, they'll visualize games. They'll think about it. Hey, I'm gonna put the spin move on him, and I'm gonna run him over if he's doing this. I'm gonna jump over him if he's. I wonder if he ever thought about processing in his head, like I'm gonna turn around backwards and jump, and then the guy's gonna go under me. I wonder if he ever consciously thought about that before he did that. I don't know. I doubt it. Looked like a spur of the moment thing. I think he's just got the best instincts in the world as a running back. I think he's got the number one, probably the best physical talent. You could throw Derrick Henry in there. He's obviously very physically talented, but Saquon's a little different. Derrick Henry's just a unique breed. There's nobody like him. Saquon's got crazy physical talent, but also I think his instincts are just a different level. Oh, Le'Veon Bell, would Le'Veon Bell be on that list off the top? I don't think he would be on that list.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be on that list.
Again, kind of short shelf life. He took himself out basically for that 1 year, never returned.
But I brought up instincts, and I immediately thought Le'Veon Bell because those instincts were different. I cannot think of one running back that I would put above Saquon in the last 10 years.
So I think like a Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. I think these guys are just a little bit lower.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Nice players for sure. Amazing players, but I wouldn't put them above Saquon. First run of the NFC Championship game, you're going to take it for 65 for touchdown. Unbelievable. The Eagles had 7 rushing touchdowns in this game.
My goodness.
7. The tush push factored in, but 7 rushing touchdowns. You're not going to win many games letting up 7 rushing touchdowns. I'll tell you that. I think the Commanders were a great story. I think the Commanders were a great story. They were fun to watch. But the Lions' victory was, I think, more due to the Lions' injuries than it was the Commanders just being this dominant team. And I think we saw that this week. Jaden Daniels will be a really fun one to watch over the next 10 years, though. I'm trying to remember, how was RG3's rookie season in comparison to Jaden Daniels?
I could pull him up here. It felt electric like Jaden Daniels.
That's what I mean.
It kind of brought
I was watching the pregame show, and I don't remember who brought it up. It might be maybe Alex Smith, or I don't know who it was. But somebody said there's never been a player like Jaden Daniels. There's never been a player like Jaden Daniels. There's no comparison. And the first thing that came to my head was there was literally a guy like 10 years ago, 8 years ago that literally wore the same uniform. And I don't know what the stat comparison, but the vibe of the two is very similar to me.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up Jaden Daniels' numbers now so I can get the comparison. But RG3's rookie year, he had threw for 3,200 yards on about 66% completion rate, 20 touchdowns and 5 picks, but also ran for 815 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels is, for his again regular season stats here, was about 69% complete rate, 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns and 9 picks, and then also ran for about 900 yards. So
Okay, so
pretty similar.
So I don't understand. I would have to push back on people saying there's no comparison. He's better than everybody, every rookie quarterback ever. Okay, he had the best record of Ben Roethlisberger had a better record. That was the only rookie quarterback that had a better record than him. But if you take away the team record, obviously the quarterback has a big impact on whether the team's good, and the team being good is a massive reflection on Jaden Daniels. But we got to pump the brakes a little bit on calling him like the best rookie quarterback of all time, I think, and saying there's no comparison. Like these guys on the pregame show were trying to say there was no comparison whatsoever. And I'm talking like literally 5 years ago, there was a guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he would have won today and went to the Super Bowl, you'd have a pretty strong argument.
I think there's something. Well, because then you get an elite category. You're the first ever rookie quarterback to make the Super Bowl starter, which then you're in a whole different class. You don't have anybody in your. But I don't think they were ever going to win this game.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to win this game. The Eagles were a better team, and I think the Eagles probably win this game 9 times out of 10. And the 10th would be like if Saquon was hurt, and then they had a couple DBs go down. Like I don't think the Eagles lose this game. Because the Eagles, they didn't play perfect. I mean, starting the game, I saw the Redskins. Sorry. Wow. You should bleep. Can we bleep that out? Can we bleep that out?
That's understandable. That's what they used to go by.
I'm sorry. To all the offended parties. The Commanders. They were hitting on a lot of 4th downs, 3rd downs earlier in the game. I mean, the Eagles were not playing perfect, but yeah, they were clearly the better team, and 7 rushing touchdowns. You don't lose to a team that you get 7 rushing touchdowns again. Hey, what was the scores of the games in the regular season? Commanders versus Eagles.
I know they split the season series, and it was just 1-1. They played each other twice.
They did split?
Yeah.
Really?
But I think there was some like factors that were playing into that game as far as availability for certain guys. But they did Washington. They beat the Eagles in December 22nd, 36-33. And Philadelphia beat them. Yeah, it was a close game. Philadelphia beat them in November 14th, 26-18.
26-18. Well, sometimes I think in the regular season you get these fluke games. Sometimes in the regular season you got a bunch of guys hurt, and maybe some guys are not feeling it for this one of 17 games you have to play. Because these seasons are like, it's hard to put in perspective for people how long these seasons are. Like, you got to understand, for these guys in the NFL, they wake up every morning and their bodies are just destroyed. Like, they're in so much pain every day. In college, like, it's a lot easier to get through it because you only got to play 12 games, and camp's shorter, and you only play 12 games. So it's much easier, I think, to get through it. When you get to up to 17 games in a regular season, it's just a different level of toughness you have to be able to keep showing up every day with a lot of consistency to be able to win games. And that's why it's so impressive when teams can do it, because there's not that many teams that can do it. I mean, the Lions, look, they had 30 injuries, like literally over 30 players on their roster to start the season injured. Like, it's hard to make it through these seasons. One thing I noticed when I watched the Chiefs play is that I think as they've gotten older and they've kind of figured out how to win, they don't really, you can tell they're not really fully trying that hard in the first 3 quarters. I'm not saying they're not trying, but they're almost pacing themselves. And I think that helps them get through the season because they're not fully bashing skulls with other people every single play, every single game. They play the game with a lot of finesse, and then they get to the 4th quarter, and it's usually like a 1 touchdown, 1 field goal game, and they know how to pull it out because, number one, they're fresher because they haven't been bashing their heads in the entire game, and they're not tired. But they also have been in these situations so many times that they come into these situations with a lot of confidence and can pull these wins out. We're right at that time where we need to take a break. We're going to be back in a few minutes. We'll see you soon.
Olympians, national players and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering for us in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha volleyball in action. Go Big Green!
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf. Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Salt Mine City is now open at 8th and R in the Haymarket. Come check out Lincoln's newest brewery with 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager, Brick Street Amber Wheat, and so many more. There's daily drink specials like $1 off Moscow Mules on Tuesdays, $6 IPAs on Fridays, and $6 Bloody Marys on Saturdays. Stop by Tuesday through Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m., Fridays 4 to 11 p.m., Saturdays 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. It's Salt Mine City, Lincoln's newest brewery at 8th and R.
Landmark Implement, your John Deere dealer, invites you to their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney on February 5th and 6th. This hands-on event offers expert training on John Deere and Hagie sprayers, covering topics such as machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and exact apply technology. New this year, classes on autonomy preparation, see and spray, and variable rate operation. Don't miss this opportunity, February 5th and 6th in Kearney. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started. Husker fans, this season, Nebraska is celebrating 50 years of Husker women's basketball, and they need you to help celebrate. You've shown up for women's hoops from the start and continue to prove that Nebraska fans really are the best in the nation. On Sunday, January 26th, the Huskers face Big Ten opponent Ohio State, and they're calling on all Husker fans to help pack PVA so they can celebrate 50 years of Husker women's hoops together. Get your tickets now and be a part of this historic season. For event and ticket information, go to huskers.com/tickets.
Having diabetes doesn't have to ruin your new year. Join a Nebraska-supported program like Living Well with Diabetes. You'll learn how to manage your symptoms, feel more confident, and reduce stress about your diagnosis. Search Nebraska Living Well with Diabetes and click on the DHHS Healthy Living Programs page to learn more. Paid for by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're back. We've got 2 10-minute segments left, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's roll. Sponsored by Diet Coke. And unofficially sponsored by Diet Coke and Mr. Piv.
Mr. Piv or Piv Extra.
Piv Extra. Yeah. There we go. So I'm kind of watching this Chiefs game. I mean, like I talked about earlier, there's really not a lot that happens in Chiefs games until the fourth quarter. Like, you just know in the fourth quarter they're going to know how to turn it on. Like, they could be down now, but this game's going to be a 1-possession game with 2 minutes to go, and then you know exactly how it's going to go. I mean, I honestly I think the Bills are going to win this game. I think they're going to pull it out. Josh Allen. I think, in my opinion, Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Maybe not he's not Mahomes, and that he's not winning games like Mahomes. And he may not have I don't know how to describe it, the presence or the ability to just win games in the fourth quarter like Mahomes does. But there's nobody in the NFL who has as much in his toolbox as Josh Allen does. You watch him throw the ball, and it's on a rope. Every throw's on a rope. He can run you over. He can jump over you. I wouldn't want to play him. I don't know how you even game plan for him as a defense. And I think it's even better story that he was a 0-star recruit out of high school. I mean, out of high school, he was emailing junior colleges, trying to get at junior colleges. He couldn't get an offer to save his life. All of a sudden, pops up at Wyoming and then becomes a top 10 draft pick. I think he was, maybe top 15. So it's stories like that make the NFL great to me, where you're a no-name anybody coming out of high school, and all of a sudden 5 years later you're this grown man winning a grown man's league. Like, you're going to be the MVP. I mean, Josh Allen's going to be the MVP of the league. I mean, I would have to imagine he's the betting favorite, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So Josh Allen, I would love to see them win this game. I'll say that. I would love to see the Bills win this game. I think they have it this year. There comes a time where I saw a stat that the Chiefs are 3-0 against the Bills in the playoffs. There comes a time when enough is enough. There comes a time when the Bills are a good enough franchise, a good enough team with a lot of guys who can play at a very high level in high pressure situations. You could say they're due. You could say they're due to win this game. They're a good enough team where it should be 1-3, not 4-0. I think the Bills are going to win this game. I get the sense, I get the tingles from watching this game in the reflection on the mirror that I can see half the TV. My gut's telling me the Bills are going to win this game.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you bring up Josh Allen and kind of talking about him, but him and Lamar Jackson, both of them are just, their legacy is just kind of stuck at this AFC Championship ceiling,
and it's
where Patrick
the
Mahomes
Chiefs.
stops them. Yeah,
the ceiling is the Chiefs. Yeah. It's because Mahomes has won three championships now, right?
Yeah, I believe so. He's going for his third straight, but yeah, overall
3, going for 4. Yeah, I mean, you're starting to get into that Tom Brady conversation. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to eclipse him by any means at all, but I think you're starting to get into the conversation if you can get to 4. 7 is a whole different level, but if you can get to 4 after 3 in a row, you're starting to get to that conversation. He's putting himself in the picture, deservedly so. I mean, to win 3 is crazy. There's 32 teams who have hundreds of people trying to win a championship on every team, and you're winning every year. By the way, I really like watching Tom Brady in the booth. I think he does a really good job in the booth, and the fact that they have him and Gronk, because Gronk does the pregame and then Tom Brady does the during game, I think it's a great setup. Those guys killed it. I think Tom Brady does such a good job in those games.
He gets paid a pretty penny.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
What's it looking like?
I'll double check, but it's I think it was the highest basically broadcaster deal ever.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Well, Romo was highest before that, right?
Yeah. So Tom Brady signed a 10-year, $375 million contract.
10-year, $375 million. You said $375 million.
That's correct.
Whoa. You can just sit on that for a second. You can just chew on that for a second. I mean, $375 million to call games for 10 years. Wow. So he's definitely not going to get into coaching.
Or remember, he's also a minority owner of the Raiders, so he's got his.
I actually saw a story about him recently that said he's kind of starting to run the show with the Raiders. Like he's kind of starting to take the reins a bit. And who did they hire?
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Oh, I
Carroll.
love the Pete Carroll hire.
Yeah.
Yeah, the league felt a little empty without Pete Carroll. I love Pete Carroll. I think he'll do a great job there because that franchise is one that the league gets better when they're good. And the move to Vegas has not treated them that well. So I think, I think Pete Carroll will do well there. I think he's the type of guy that can change a franchise. I really like the Mike Vrabel hire, by the way. The Patriots did a good job there. I think the Mike Vrabel hire for the Patriots, that made so much sense to me when I saw that. I saw that and I said, okay, that makes the most sense of any hire that I've seen. The Lions obviously got gutted. Don't love that. The Ben Johnson one was a little bit weird. Going to a division rival 2 days after you lose a playoff game. I know it's the NFL and I know that there's really not any loyalty whatsoever, but going to a division rival right after you lose a playoff game, it felt a little bit strange. And then the whole vibe of it felt a little bit strange to me. Aaron Glenn going to the Jets, that makes a lot of sense. I think the Jets need a little spark, and I think he can provide that. But it'll be interesting to see how the Lions reload. I think they can reload. We're going to see how good of a coach Dan Campbell is. That's for sure. If you lose, there's not that many coaches in the NFL that lose their entire staff in 1 year. Like he's literally losing his OC, DC, and like a significant portion of the other guys in 1 year. That's a lot of loss to have to reload after. But I think if there's one guy that can reload, it's Dan Campbell. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out for them. They'll obviously be much healthier next year. They'll get Hutchinson back. They'll get all their guys healthy, and I think they'll go on another run. That division is only getting better, though. I think that those Ben Johnson Bears, Caleb Williams will be better with Ben Johnson. I think those Bears will be better. Vikings, I don't know if they'll re-sign Sam Darnold. I don't know what the direction they'll go, but 15-2, they're going to be good next year. Packers, obviously Jordan Love is going to be good. So that division I think is the best one in the league. It's probably that or Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. Those Broncos were starting to look dangerous. Chargers obviously going to be dangerous with Jim Harbaugh at the helm. So there's going to be some shakeups going into next year. Let me just pull up the overall standings in the NFL here. Giants have the first overall pick. What did you think about the whole? Because Deion Sanders was in the conversation for the Cowboys job for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then that kind of died out. I would have thought that would have been right up Jerry Jones's alley to hire
Yeah, I thought so too. And ultimately, again, going with Brian Schottenheimer, maybe that makes a little bit more sense. But I mean, I always said it was a bit premature.
Do you think it makes more sense? I don't think it makes more sense.
It's tough to say. I mean, NFL experience, all just kind of promoting within, all that stuff kind of makes sense in that way. So you don't have to move a whole lot of things around. But I mean, Deion would have been so much fun. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't know if there's one way or the other that makes you feel a whole lot better about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, they're in one of the better divisions. Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, Giants, I guess. So you can't say they're one of the better divisions, but
Washington, the Eagles just played.
Washington, the Eagles. You got 4 games a year at least that are going to be probably losses at this point because those two teams are good. It just didn't make. It just kind of confused me to see because of how Jerry Jones usually likes to operate things. Like he likes to have the fans, the media attention on him, and the Deion Sanders hire would have made a ton of sense. And I think Deion Sanders probably was interested, played there. His kids aren't playing at Colorado anymore. He kind of doesn't have any ties there anymore. Be interesting. I wonder if Deion will end up taking a new job next year. I could see him staying at Colorado. It suits him. It'll be I think it'll be a test of how good of a coach he is next year when he doesn't have his kids on the team. I think that'll be a real big test, and that'll be real interesting to see.
Travis Hunter, Heisman winner.
No Travis Hunter, no Shadur, no is it Deion Sanders Jr.? Is that
Shiloh's the other
Shiloh's Shiloh. None of those 3 on the team. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Are we taking a break here?
Yeah, we're set to take a break here.
All right, we're set to take a break here. We're going to be back in a couple minutes. We'll see you soon.
See Olympians, national players, and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering for us in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha volleyball in action. Go Big Green!
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf. Wall-to-Wall Wine & Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch, walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall-to-Wall Wine & Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Salt Mine City is now open at 8th and R in the Haymarket. Come check out Lincoln's newest brewery with 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager, Brick Street Amber Wheat, and so many more. There's daily drink specials like $1 off Moscow Mules on Tuesdays, $6 IPAs on Fridays, and $6 Bloody Marys on Saturdays. Stop by Tuesday through Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m., Fridays 4 to 11 p.m., Saturdays 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. It's Salt Mine City, Lincoln's newest brewery at 8th and R.
Landmark Implement, your John Deere dealer, invites you to their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney on February 5th and 6th. This hands-on event offers expert training on John Deere and Hagie sprayers, covering topics such as machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and exact apply technology. New this year, classes on autonomy preparation, see and spray, and variable rate operation. Don't miss this opportunity, February 5th and 6th in Kearney. Learn more at landmarkimp.com/events.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started. Husker fans, this season, Nebraska is celebrating 50 years of Husker women's basketball, and they need you to help celebrate. You've shown up for women's hoops from the start and continue to prove that Nebraska fans really are the best in the nation. On Sunday, January 26th, the Huskers face Big Ten opponent Ohio State, and they're calling on all Husker fans to help pack PBA so they can celebrate 50 years of Husker women's hoops together. Get your tickets now and be a part of this historic season. For event and ticket information, go to huskers.com/tickets.
Having diabetes doesn't have to ruin your new year. Join a Nebraska-supported program like Living Well with Diabetes. You'll learn how to manage your symptoms, feel more confident, and reduce stress about your diagnosis. Search Nebraska Living Well with Diabetes and click on the DHHS Healthy Living Programs page to learn more. Paid for by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic. Sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Only my mic's on. Welcome back. We got the mic working. We're up and running. All right, so in the break, we were talking about, earlier we were talking about the running backs of this generation and who's the best. So I pulled up a list of the top running backs of this generation. At number one, any guesses what they have at number one?
I would think King Henry.
I don't know what generation I'm looking at, to be honest, but they have Adrian Peterson.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, this is the 2010s. This is the 2010s. Okay, so we're probably missing a Derrick Henry. We're missing a Saquon. And a Christian McCaffrey. But I was honestly talking about, as far as this generation, I was talking the last 20 years. We got Adrian Peterson. I think AP might be the only one above Saquon. I think AP might be above Saquon. I'll say that. Saquon looks good though. Anyway, number 2, Frank Gore.
Okay,
that's an interesting one. I mean, I think he's the all-time leading rushing leader of the NFL.
He's in the top. I think he's in the top 10 at least. Double check where he's at.
I want to say he's up there. But anyway, I think this list, if they're putting him at number 2, they're talking about longevity a lot more than they are just simply best player. We got LaShawn McCoy at 3, Jamal Charles at 4, Todd Gurley 5, Zeke 6, Le'Veon Bell 7, Arian Foster 8, Marshawn Lynch 9, Matt Forte at 10. Whoa. Chris Johnson, DeMarco Murray, Maurice Jones-Drew. Wow. Okay, so Saquon's the best running back of this generation, outside of Adrian Peterson, maybe. But I don't see any of these guys in this list that come close to topping Saquon.
So if we go by all-time yardage leaders, Emmitt Smith is number 1, Walter Payton number 2, and Frank Gore is coming at number 3, followed by Barry Sanders and Adrian Peterson at number 5. So he's kind of in the all-times list.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's the GOAT
Yeah.
of this generation, I think.
But if you look at like the top 25 and anybody that's current, Derrick Henry is right there at 19, but that's the only current player, which there's less of an emphasis on rushing yards. I should say rushing than maybe there was.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry is going to start running up that list.
Yeah.
Because that list, I think that list is probably, if I'm not wrong, maybe the top's a lot higher than the middle, but like the probably the 20 through 5 of that list, I imagine they're all pretty close. So as he goes on the end of his career, I think he'll start passing guys pretty quickly because he's not done. I mean, you saw him run recently.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's not anywhere close to done. He's got at least another couple years left in him.
Yeah, if he gets about 2,500 yards left, which is like you said, I mean that's doable.
That's 2 years
in the
worth
next couple years.
at most. Yeah.
Then he'd be close to top 6, top 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think getting up. Yeah. If he plays another 3 years, he's going to be in the top 5.
Mhm.
I wonder where do you know where Saquon's at?
Well, that's the thing about Saquon is I don't think he's necessarily. I mean, his time with the Giants was he had a good rookie year, a good second year, but didn't really rack up that many yards. So his like career stats aren't quite up there, but he's like the best in the world now, right? So he's hopefully kind of hitting your prime now. So when you start to make your way up those lists,
I guess when I brought up the conversation, I wasn't necessarily talking about stats or longevity. Like I would not have put Frank Gore anywhere near the top of that list. Not that he's not a good player or a great player, but I think I would not put him anywhere in the top of the list just because watching these guys play, Saquon's on a different level. Derrick Henry's on a different level. McCaffrey's on a different level. AP was on a different level. Who else was on a different level? Arian Foster was honestly on a different level. That guy was on a different level, and he didn't have the stats because his career got cut kind of short because of injuries and he retired. But Arian Foster was another guy where I felt like he was a different level of running back where he could change a game. Who else was on? LaShawn McCoy, I would say, was at that level or maybe a little below. Todd Gurley was there for a little bit. Le'Veon Bell was definitely there. That was my favorite running back to ever watch was Le'Veon Bell for sure. Like I've never seen anybody have as much patience as him. Like the ability, because it's so hard, I think, as a football player, specifically running back, because you grow up and you come up through high school and college, and almost every football coach that you come across is going to tell you, you need to hit the hole harder. You need to go. You need to go. You need to go. And everybody's telling you got to go. And he somehow adopted this ability to just literally, I mean, it felt like he would stand there for 5 seconds and just let the other team mess up. Like he would let the linebackers declare, because that's essentially on these zone read plays, you do these mid zones or these inside zones. And it's like the D linemen in modern football, they're pretty much gap sound. They have to sit in their gaps and control their gaps. And then the linebackers are in pretty much a one-on-one with the running backs. There's 2 linebackers and a running back. And it's kind of a waiting game at times, especially with Le'Veon Bell. It depends on the running back. Like a Derrick Henry, downhill. You need to go hit him downhill. But with a Le'Veon Bell, it's kind of like a mind game, a waiting game, where it's like, okay, who's gonna declare first? Because if you're playing Le'Veon Bell and you're a linebacker and you declare where you're gonna go, you take a few steps up, it's over. Like you're cooked. He's gonna go the other way and get 10 yards. Like you would have to be, because it would force as a running back, he forces the linebacker's hand. It's like a bluff. Like he's forcing their hand, so he's waiting, and he's probably, based on the way watching him was, he's probably looking at these linebackers in the eyes, and he's probably watching them. And like the D line's going to sort itself out. If somebody pops in his face, he's going to make a move, but he's probably looking at these linebackers in the eyes and seeing where they're going to declare, and then picking his gap. And it was one of the most honestly beautiful running styles I've ever seen. Saquon's got the physical gifts. Saquon's got the vision for sure. But Le'Veon Bell was the most unique runner I ever seen because of his ability to sit back there with patience. And I'm sure people tried to coach it out of him. I'm 100% sure people, as he was coming up, Michigan State, high school, people tried to coach it out of him. They're like, hey, you need to hit the hole. You need to go. This hole's open. You need to go. But he would pass up open holes. Like he would pass up an open hole, or he would like take a step to go to the open hole, and a linebacker would try to fill it, and then he'd know where to go. So he was so patient with it, and it was like art. It was like beautiful. It was so beautiful to watch. I see a little bit of that with Saquon. He's got a lot of patience. He's very good at it. But I see Saquon as more as somebody that's just impossible to tackle. He's got such a low center of gravity with his legs, and he's so strong that his moves are so punishing when you try to tackle him. He's going to make his move with his massive, strong legs. As soon as you try to tackle him, he's going to put his foot in the ground and try to move. So that's why I think it's hard to tackle him. Le'Veon Bell was a little different, where you couldn't even touch him. Arian Foster was the only person I've seen come close to that Le'Veon Bell running style, where he was so slow at playing it, played it so slow, had such a presence about him where he was able to, because that's what it takes. Like if you're going to play like that, if you're going to play with that level of patience, you have to have a major presence about you, because it's honestly, as a running back, it's easy to just hit the hole hard, because you're never going to get a coach yell at you for hitting the hole hard. It's like you just ran your face in there and like you did your job and you got 3 yards. But if you're sitting back there and you end up taking a 3-yard loss, everybody's going to be on you about it, because why aren't you just going? Why aren't you just going? But in order to have that presence, you got to have a lot of confidence and a lot of presence and awareness of your vision, and understand how to manipulate the defense. And that's why the Le'Veon Bell and then Arian Foster a little bit was like that to me, where he had that presence and that vision to him. Adrian Peterson probably reminds me the most of Saquon, where these guys can run somebody over. They've got the ability to hit a move on you that will leave you looking really stupid. And they have the ability to just, when somebody has them wrapped up, they're so strong that they can pull out of it like that. Because I think what you see a lot of running backs, they can get out of tackles, but it takes them a second. Like somebody will get them wrapped up and they'll kind of sit in that wrapped up state for a minute. Saquon, AP, they're getting out of that so fast. You can't keep them wrapped up. And because a lot of it where you're tackling running backs is you got to keep them wrapped up to long enough so that somebody else can come help you out. Like it's really hard to get these guys down on their own. But a lot of these guys, like these great running backs, they can get out of those tackles so quick so that the gang can't come and help out. All right, that was a good segment on the running backs.
Yeah, excellent.
Shout out to Le'Veon Bell and Saquon. Anyway, show's over. Had a fun one. Have a great week, y'all. See you later.